NVIDIA, the godfather of AI, the puppet master that pulls the strings of the tech world. What started as a pipe dream between Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem is now the lifeblood of the tech industry long before ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, Gemini, and Grok. Before the world even thought about AI, NVIDIA had envisioned and ensured their place in the future. So how did a company that manufactures graphics cards now call all the shots of the AI revolution? NVIDIA's market stock is one of the biggest and most profitable stocks on the public market right now, with the company being valued at trillions of dollars. But it wasn't always that way. In the early 90s, NVIDIA was just a company that was starting out in a world of tech giants who had already established themselves on the market and in the public. But Jensen Huang wasn't one to quit easily and wanted to corner a part of the market that no one company catered to: graphics cards. The idea was simple but effective. They would begin creating hardware that would solely be used for the purpose of processing graphics and rendering images on computers, and would sell them separately as modification parts that could be bought by anyone. Soon enough, the company slowly climbed the ranks and established itself as the leader in the graphics card industry. And as computing power became stronger and stronger, so did NVIDIA's graphic card capabilities. But NVIDIA's growth seemed to have saturated, and competitors were now copying their tech, and some were even refining it and creating better products. Companies like ATI, Intel, and Matrox thought they had finally caught up, but NVIDIA then unveiled a new product. Something they had promised would change the landscape of computer processing itself, and its name was CUDA, Compute Unified Device Architecture, or CUDA. For short, brought one simple yet crazy question to life. What if graphics cards could think? All this time, graphics cards were only known for being units that took on graphics processing tasks, which were used to enhance gaming experiences and render CGI animations. No one realized it in the moment, not even NVIDIA, but they had begun the era of artificial intelligence. When CUDA was conceptualized, many companies and executives laughed the idea off, and many others deemed it business suicide. But here it was, a unique programming platform that redefined the very world of computing. NVIDIA had now successfully given their graphics cards general computing power and was now able to run a wide plethora of programs and simulations that included tasks like physics simulations, financial modeling, and molecular dynamics. But how is any of this relevant to NVIDIA's astronomical hold over the artificial intelligence industry? Well, it is relevant because what you are looking at is the very reason why graphics cards are able to handle tasks like deep machine learning. CUDA didn't just bring a change. It completely flipped the industry on its head in the most silent of ways. It changed the way computers were built and software was written, because now you could run an entire network of programs on a single graphics card, and that too in a much more reliable and efficient manner. This wasn't just technical innovation at hand. It was dollar signs for the investors of NVIDIA, as CUDA was proprietary in nature, meaning the company owned all of the intellectual property rights to it. Back then, everyone was clawing through one another to get a chance to use CUDA, but none could, because NVIDIA had successfully conducted a software lock-in, and anyone who tried to pirate the code realized that rewriting it would take months, if not years, as the code was catered specifically to NVIDIA's products alone. But while the world now might praise developers for making their code open source such that anyone could work with it, NVIDIA stuck to their intuition and ensured that CUDA was run on NVIDIA-specific hardware alone. And much to the investors' surprise, this worked so very well that NVIDIA's CUDA had built a self-sustaining developer ecosystem, with every self-taught and college-trained developer taking it upon themselves to learn NVIDIA's new parallel computing platform and programming model, CUDA. Suddenly, GPUs, and specifically NVIDIA GPUs, had become the most coveted piece of technology, as they were able to handle tasks in a manner that traditional GPUs just couldn't. CUDA kept being refined and developed over the years. And beside them, an industry that was in its infancy, artificial intelligence, was beginning to take its first steps. Artificial intelligence began to take form with many of its component parts like machine learning, transformer architecture, and deep learning being innovated. But while every other industry giant was trying to come up with their own contributions to AI, NVIDIA played the long game and realized that when artificial intelligence takes flight, processing power will be the name of the game. As AI will need exponentially larger computing capabilities to run more and more complex programs and more complex algorithms. Soon enough, AI framework technologies like TensorFlow and PyTorch were specifically optimized for CUDA, and by the time the early 2020s came around, the first prototype large language models and image generators like AlexNet, GPT, and Stable Diffusion were being tested, and just as NVIDIA had predicted, these companies required large amounts of computing power, and NVIDIA's data centers and hardware were the only technology that could perform effectively. Years of the companies betting on their software and investments had finally paid off. Every major AI model had become heavily reliant on NVIDIA's computing capabilities to do what others couldn't: manage their needs. AI slowly started to take over the market as more and more people began to engage with this software. Capabilities slowly began to improve. From structural organization to identification to generation, AI slowly began cornering every industry, and behind all of it was NVIDIA. NVIDIA had effectively won the AI boom, and their success rested on what we can call a threefold moat. This moat consisted of their software, their supply chain, and their scale of production. These three factors were effectively optimized by the business side of NVIDIA, along with their progressing technology to ensure that their tech was accessible in whichever part of the globe one may be. And at the same time, they outsourced the production of their hardware to companies like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, who are at the forefront of the chip production and development industry. But this isn't the only forefront that NVIDIA is leading. They seem to have taken the lead on virtual real estate as well. They do this by renting out their data centers to run their programs, shifting a large focus of their company's financial revenue from the sale of products to their data centers. Just to put it into perspective as to how financially successful the last few years have been for them, I want you to imagine a large piggy bank the size of a building that filled a quarter of the way over the course of 20 years, and then immediately filled to the brim and overflowed in the following 20 years. 5 years. NVIDIA's success grew their market capitalization from a great $100 billion to a mind-blowing $4.7 trillion in just 5 years, which is completely unheard of. And their profit margins? A baffling 70% on average. You heard that right? While a company turning over a 10% profit is considered successful, NVIDIA is out here shattering records like prime Michael Jordan. Nonetheless, NVIDIA has received a fair amount of pushback from its rivals as well, with companies like AMD pushing their CUDA-esque software, ROCm, and Google developing their own parallel computing units called Tensor Processing Units, or TPUs for short. Many of the cloud storage and computing giants like Amazon and Microsoft have begun to shift their focus onto resources like custom silicon that involves making process-specific chips to pivot away from their reliance on NVIDIA. NVIDIA's dominance over the tech market wasn't sheer luck. It was a result of their planned, calculated, and methodical ecosystem strategy. Their innovation and foresight put them ahead of the curve before others even realized there was one. And CUDA? It was their trump card that built them into the empire they are today.